Stand up on Spruce Knob and just feel the breeze. When they say almost heaven, it ain't no lie. West by God, let our hillbilly music be your lullaby. West by God, we're miners, legends, outlaws, and working class dogs. West by God, the bees in the good old smile. West by God.
Good. Well, hey, Mountaineer fans, welcome to this episode of Mountaineer Legends Pregame, coming to you from all over the East Coast right now. All right.
That's right.
Big Joe's, Brian Jozwiak, and of course my co-host up there, Randy Cottle. We're going to talk all things Mountaineer football. Obviously, this thing's brought to you by our folks there at Little General. All right, we appreciate Little General. Them guys have stepped up to help us continue this podcast that we do, talking Mountaineer football and such. And of course, our home studio there at Trilogy Innovations in Morgantown. Randy, appreciate that. And of course, I have the Fat Boys Media group that kind of spearheads this whole thing. Scotty Sears and myself, and we got some things to talk about. And who else better? Talk about Randy. I mean,
yes.
You're a Mountaineer fan.
Yes, right? That's right.
I got a couple of guys that are joining us this morning. Why don't you welcome them aboard?
Yes. So we have our main man, Mike Collins. Mike, and like you said, some people might recognize Mike. I know when you guys were first starting this out in the first season, Mike was on here a lot. Mike, did you want to just give the background or anything?
Yeah. So Huntington, West Virginia, I live down in Jacksonville, St.
The Hammer.
Yep.
I love that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Although Everybody in Huntington calls me Ice Mike, so there you go.
Ice Mike, yes.
Yeah.
Whoa. Why? I didn't know that.
Just so cold,
He cold.
A stone cold killer.
Stone cold killer.
Heck yeah.
There was a couple of Huntington they called Ice Mike. So, but yeah, I 4-year starter, captain, 93 team. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, and that was such a legendary season. You know, the 93 season, everybody talks about the 88 season, 93 season, and then even the 2007 season, because those three were the best, right? What's that?
There's only 2 undefeated teams in WVU history.
Exactly.
And he's sitting as one of those characters that was intricate.
Perfect. Yes.
In that thing, man. You know, and now I figured out why it's Ice Mike.
Yeah.
I've seen you ice guys on the sideline.
On the sideline with his helmet off.
He's laying there, his body goes cold.
That's right.
How'd you throw that helmet, Mike? How'd you throw that helmet?
But that was 92. It's not even bringing it up. They get mad thinking about that series.
Right. Oh yeah, and I remember the brawls against Miami back then too. It was just crazy.
Yep,
crazy. And that, I mean, again, like you just said, Joe's only time in WVU history to go perfect. You know, what more of a legend can you ask for? I mean, you know.
That's right. That's right.
Were you on both teams, Mike?
No, I was senior in high school in '88. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say that'd been cool.
And you know, with Major being there, Randy, you talked about first game you saw was with Major. That was my first game that I ever saw in Mountaineer Field. Came up there for my visit when they played Penn State. So this was the first game I'd ever been to in Mountaineer Field. You know, grew up in the Heights, and obviously go to Marshall games, but
right.
I had a single mom. She wasn't able to take me to games up in Morgantown and do this, that, and the third. So And actually, the first game that I saw West Virginia play in person was, I want to say it was a week or 2 weeks before they played Virginia Tech, because I was being recruited by Virginia Tech. So I went down and watched them play down there. And so that was the first time I'd ever seen West Virginia play in person, was down in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
yeah.
Did you always know you were going to West Virginia?
I knew I was going to West Virginia after Coach Nealon offered me a scholarship.
It's crazy.
But I had, fortunately, I had a couple options, but yeah, I mean, and with Major being there, and hey, like I said, Ice Mike, I figured, hey, I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna start freshman year, and then I'm gonna play for national. I'm gonna get to play with him for at least 2 more years, maybe 3. And I redshirted his first year, and so, but then there was that transition because he left early, and so we were kind of in a space that Neil Brown's got us in for 6 years. We were in that. We were in that for a couple years there, trying to figure ourselves out, mediocre, but But West Virginia went from a top 5 playing for the national championship to the next season being ranked in the top 10 to then when Major left and a little bit of things going sideways, we went 4-7, even though we started that season in top 25. And then in 91, we were 6-5. And then 92, we had the 2 ties, the brawl, we had a schedule, but then the following year we go undefeated. So, the difference between what Neil Brown is doing now versus what Coach Nealon did, there was a plan in place, and we got out of that. We got out of this cycle of mediocrity, and
just bringing some cats in. They were still bringing cats in and not losing them.
And then
building,
bringing some cats in,
developing.
Guest on here,
like that 92 class.
Aaron was where all 4 of them made it to the NFL. So. With him, Van Washington, Charles Emmanuel, and Mike Logan. And, and Aaron and Mike played 9-10 years in NFL. So talent. The talent was there. And guys, but that was Coach Nealon was able to do that because people had seen what he had done in the past. There was something to sell there. There was some success that he had because you guys will remember where Coach Nealon took over. He took over the program where Neil Brown's got us now. Just being honest. He took over a program that hadn't been, although Signetti had us ranked, but he had to build the program, right? And but that came to fruition when you see, Brian Jozwiak getting drafted in the first round, Coach Nealon's first round draft pick. When he develops a Darryl Talley before that, when he has an Oliver Love, Jeff Hostetler transfer in, and you see these guys in the Freddie Boom Boom Smalls and the other players, then that culminates to that 88 season where, all the things that he sold to those guys who built the foundation, it culminates there. And then we were next at 93, 5 years later, to go undefeated. And then, there was always that cycle of West Virginia, being ranked, moving up. It was ascending cycle, right? Versus now it's just level.
Actually climbing.
Yeah, we were actually,
we hear the trust the climb, but we were climbing every year back then.
Right. And there were dips, but then we always went back up. And the thing is too, the way that we played. And there was a certain amount of toughness and get after it. Yeah. And intensity. That was the standard. That's how you played, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. That's how you played. And that was instilled. So even though, not necessarily won the games, a lot of the times we won the war, so to speak, right?
And with that comment, bring in one of the legends that helped to establish those credentials that you're talking about, that toughness, that Darryl Talley was when I got there. That was the bunch that got sold with Coach Nealon and that philosophy, Nealon's way. This is Nealon's program. This is my way. You're going to do it this way. Those guys bought into it and taught us, who then taught the next generation. And Aaron Beasley, bringing you into this thing because, you're before Mikey. You're a little older, aren't you?
No, he's after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He just looks older, Joe.
Yo,
He was around the time that I graduated high school. He just had
when
to
did you
change.
get there? Because you got there in 92.
92. Yeah, Mike was already
92.
there. Yeah.
And you got there in 89.
Yeah.
Joe,
Damn, B, you do look old.
There you go.
I'm going to kick your ass, big guy.
I can't wait.
Hey,
I can't wait. That means we'll be together, and I enjoy that.
But like to piggyback off what Mike says, man, that Nealon mentality is so real because when we had our game last year down here in Jacksonville, when we all came and did the radio show and talking to Tally and hearing Tally kind of have the same mentality as us was so cool because I never forget. I think it was this year. He was like, "Man, I would have loved to play with your crazy ass." You know what I mean? Because we all had that same mentality. It was kill or be killed. Like we played a different style of football where the violence, the hard hits, making plays, that was all part of what we did in practice. And we took every practice to our game. You know what I'm saying? We practiced so hard, it went to the game. There was no flip, no switch. It was always work 100% in practice so the game is easy.
Right. Yeah. You weren't doing the walkthroughs in your shorts and the helmet, right? To where then they ring a bell and there's like, "Hey, snack time. Come get your snacks."
Let's get a popsicle.
You didn't have any of that?
Popsicle, bro.
Popsicles.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Good. I'm sorry.
Really what we're missing is, having that star, especially with you guys, with interceptions and tackles. Mike, I think you probably had 100 in your last season or close to. And then you were mentioning Virginia Tech. I remember there was a game where Aaron, I think, did you have like 3 interceptions against Virginia Tech or something?
Yeah.
Like it was I remember back in those days, and those are game-changing things. We always talk about the little things, but those are the type of things, especially against a hated rival. Obviously I hate Pitt, but secretly, I don't know, Virginia Tech for me is right up
You're
there.
about even.
I'm telling you what, because I actually went down to Blacksburg and watched the game one time, and obviously they weren't very friendly towards us, but I remember being in the end zone when Grant Wiley intercepted that pass in there. It's like anytime we beat Virginia Tech, it got that Black Diamond Trophy. It was amazing. But you guys would lay hits on people. We talked about Carl Joseph a couple podcasts ago, and I loved the way he laid the wood on people. And you guys did the exact same thing. I mean, or if the ball was anywhere, Aaron, I know if the ball was anywhere near you, you were intercepting. I'm like, he could have been a wide receiver the way that he picks off passes, right? Except, again, you guys lay the wood, but you guys were the ones that really changed the game, right? You elevated the game for everybody around you because they're wanting to live up to that. But and I'm sure we'll get into some of those conversations as well during this.
That's the thing. Like through Mike's leadership, it carried on to when he was gone because he passed the torch to me. I might not have been the fastest guy, but you talking about hard work and knowing how Mike would treat us in practice, because if we didn't make a play, it was just like I just carried it on. Like every day meant something at practice. It was just not practice. It was like I practiced like my life was on the line because I want to get to the next level. And I don't know if Mike knows this, but his legacy to me is, when it was the 4 amigos. We all came in together, and all of us made it to the NFL. But look at that. After the '96 class, how many guys started going to the league? Because every day in practice, I brought it. I was in game mode every day. I dressed like Don Nillen hated me because I wanted all my socks. But it carried over because I practiced so hard and practiced so fast that when it was game time, it all slowed down.
Right.
And I think Mike is the reason for that, because when he left, it was like, damn, I guess I'm the leader of the secondary now because I'm the old guy.
Right.
And that's what it was. It was like every day of practice, we're playing a game.
Yeah.
And that's the way, that's I think why we were different.
And
Well,
you,
I add one more thing.
you didn't want to let him down.
Right.
Exactly. When he was watching, he was up in Buffalo. I was like, I know he's watching.
Yeah, but you know, we talk about as players, we talk about playing for a coach. But really, you're playing for your brother and you're playing for your older brother because you don't want to let down the guy that passed the torch to you. There's a level of expectation. There's a demand to maintain the same caliber, if not better. Because what's the thing? We're supposed to leave it better than when we took
we left.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the process. That's the climb. That's the build. There are no excuses.
Right.
There are no excuses.
Well, and to
Find
build
solutions. I'm
and
sorry.
to
Go ahead, Mike.
build off what Aaron said, I learned that from the Tim Newsoms, the Daryl Moores, the Preston Waters, the guys when I came in, they taught me, and they had learned it from the Bo Orlandos, the Alvoid Mays, the Dave Lockwoods, so and they had learned it from the Stacy Smiths, the guys before them, and that's the thing. Like with when you have
that gives me chills.
When you have a true program, that's what happens within the program, right? Somebody else takes that responsibility, but they pass it along, and so that's. I mean, I'm lost for words because I'm thinking of where we were and where we are now. And
Right.
It's a different landscape.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that, actually. I want to get your all's take on this. I mean, we're in a world now. I remember back where everybody's getting a trophy. I think some of those people that were just giving out participation trophies are now playing. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not getting enough playing time. I'm just going to transfer out. Or, oh, he's getting more snaps than me. That's not fair. I'm going to transfer out. I mean, do you think that that's actually had an impact? Or because like you guys all know, you create that brotherhood. You were there usually 4 years, right? Maybe 5 years if you redshirt. But you have that cohesivity among your peers. And then you have to have that one guy that is firing everybody up and raising that standard. And not to say that there might not be somebody in there now, because I'm not in their inner workings or anything, but you guys always stood out on game days, right? You stood out on the sidelines. Like, there's a reason why you guys are called legends, right? And we're just don't seem to be seeing that quite as much these days. But I wanted to get your all's take. Mike, we can start with you. Do you think this has hurt football as far as being able to transfer out every year if they're not getting enough playing time?
It absolutely, it's hurting college sports, and it's transactional now. I mean, it's, there was always an undercurrent of the transaction that was occurring, where it was we give you the scholarship, you earn us money. Now it's, you give us the scholarship, I play for every year, and like you said, then I can go. Where it wasn't before, though, is because it wasn't as easy to leave, you had to struggle. And part of that struggle is learning how to take coaching.
That's growth.
Learning to accept. You have to grow up. You have to you have to look inward and find out,
what I got to work on.
I got to do to get better. What can and why is this person always yelling at me? What am I doing? And how about this? Is this really for me?
Yeah.
Is this something I want to do? And so then there's a certain level of maturity that has to occur. And then you get the buy-in, right? And then once you're bought in, then it's boom, the light switches and it's on, and then you're on. And I think the thing that's happening now is it's too easy to bypass the struggle. The struggle is real. But the struggle, iron sharpens iron, and you have to get molded, and you have to, that makes that mental toughness. There's a physical toughness, but there's, as much as anything, there's a mental toughness that goes along with playing football. There is no other sport like it. None. There's 11 players on the field, and they all have to work together. And if one of those guys messes up, then the entire organization, the entire system, the entire play from the play perspective doesn't work. And so you have to develop a certain amount of mental toughness, which means you have to coach kids hard, which means sometimes kids don't like it, which means when they don't like it, they can walk away because it's too easy. You know what I mean? So
then go.
Yeah. So
if you want to transfer out, then go. What you're saying, Mike, is you got to develop a program that each year, guys are getting better. Guys are improving every year. Player development and the retention of those players. And those guys don't want to transfer out. The ones that want to transfer out are the ones that I'm not getting enough playing time. Well, then go. But if you stay here, the playing time that you will get is going to be on a winning program that's going to get you to the next level, if that's so be it where you want to go. That hard edge, that tough development, and the growth process that takes place so that you can reach a potential. We all have potential, but you don't win championships on potential. You develop that potential, and you retain that potential. And the landscape today, there's a lot of excuses, and a lot of guys are transferring out, but there's guys that are transferring in. Okay, so everybody's replaceable. Now, once that guy transfers out, you got to do a great job, and you got to have a program like Colorado that people want to transfer in, and they're waiting in line to transfer in. And if you want to transfer out, you're transferring out because you can't handle the struggle. Yeah. That's Mike. The way you framed that, man, gave me goosebumps because that's what it is. You got to go through the struggle. If you walk away from the struggle, man, you're going to be a soft mushroom.
It shows your character. It shows your character. It shows who you really are.
There's a reason why they call it growing pains, right? If you're not feeling the pain, you're not growing, right?
Go, Aaron. Go.
Beasley.
Well, I was about to say, a lot of that is the coach, of course, and obviously. But when you have coaches that are teaching and developing, players are going to stay. Sometimes we think it's all about the money. I don't think it's all about the money. I think a guy wants to make it to the NFL and he sees his coach is not developing him. So they then leave because they want to go somewhere else where they know they have a chance. And
let me ask you guys this. If you could pick out one player, I hate single, I'm just going to ask this. If you could pick out one player from last year to this year that we saw very limited growth and development, who might that be?
Oh, do you really? It's a quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, go look at the roster of coaches and find out the guy that's coaching the quarterbacks. And his resume, first of all, I always thought, offensive coordinators are coaching quarterbacks. If they have a role as a position coach, they're working with the quarterbacks. Our quarterback, and I'm not picking on any one position, but I'm just saying to what you said, Bees.
You're talking about the coach, not the player.
Greatness. Mm-hmm. And in order to develop greatness, you got to have a coach that has those capabilities. You can't have a yes man back there answering the questions and you got to have somebody that's iron sharpens iron.
I had Coach Dunlap first, who he let go of the job just because he was overseeing the defense, and secondary is a hard job to coach when you're seeing the whole defense. But then I had Kevin Ramsey. Then I had Jerry Holmes. Look, I ain't leaving because I know these guys know their shit. I ain't leaving because I want this. I want the foot up my ass. I need that because I come from Potsdam, PA. My dad wasn't there my whole life, so I need this.
Right.
And it's a difference when you stand because you know the coach has your best interest and you know the coach has been there.
Right. Right. And the flip side of the turnover is, which we see in our secondary, is when you're continuously changing, there's no consistency, right? And because there's no consistency, there's no continuity. And to Aaron's point, when Coach Dunlap, when he went to linebackers, because he knew, hey, I can't coach 4 players. These are 4 positions, right? So I need to, I need to know what I'm good at, what I'm capable of doing, and allow that. And so the continuity, right? And so and Aaron, he started, he came in, started a little bit going into his freshman year, came in towards the middle of the season and started, but guys don't come in normally in a year and start at corner Division I level. And also you have to come in and you got to learn a defense if you're coming from another place. You got to learn a defense. You got to learn a scheme. You got to be able to understand the limitations of first of all, the coach should be able to understand your limitations, but then you also understand the limitations of your teammates. And so it's a whole, like I said, football is the best, but it's the hardest. 11 on 11, there's nothing. And when one person messes up, the entire system is good. And so that's the other thing that I don't like, because when as a coach, if you're continuously turning over your position group in your room, is that because you're players or is that because of you? And Aaron's hitting the nail on the head. That's not the players. That's that guy. That's a pattern. And that's to me, it's a bad pattern. And you look at our secondary, how it's played, because you asked a question about development. That's another position group, corner and safety, that really hasn't improved at all over the last, let's say, 4 years. I mean, let's just be, 4 years. And we're go because I'll give them 5 and 6 because those are the first 2 years coming in. But you would expect improvement. You would expect growth. You would expect guys playing in those positions besides the Beanie Bishops who transfers in and plays 1 year. But you would expect some other guys who are on the radar to be either be drafted or be signed as free agents. West Virginia has none of those guys. None. Right. And whose fault is that?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, you look at this season because you talk about last week Joe's and I talked about how Vic was supposed to be the defensive coordinator coming in, and then he never even got to see that first season, and ever since then it's been that merry-go-round of like coaches in and out and that kind of stuff. But if you look at this season alone, we were up on Pitt. We've been up multiple times throughout this year, and then sometime in middle of the third quarter, it's an utter collapse. We even just saw that last week. Like, we barely hung on. Luckily, they had the fumble recovery that we got. Because we've been good at stopping the run. It's just our secondary, right? And as secondary experts,
are we really good at stopping a run, or is our secondary Swiss cheese and they just throw it?
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's what I was going to ask.
I would throw it against us all every game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. What are you guys seeing? And as far as breakdown, is it the coaching? Do you think that's not putting them in the right spots? Are they just not? Me and Joe talk about this all the time. Are they giving them too much of a cushion, not getting their hands on them? Because the quarterback has 2 seconds to get rid of the ball, right? And if you ain't putting hands on them because they're used to throwing to a spot on the field, right? That's what seems to be missing. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Go ahead, Beasley.
Hey, Joes, we just talked about this up in South Carolina. Before the game, me and Darryl Talley, we always talk about you got to put hands on people. If you're not slowing down the momentum of a receiver, then you're not gonna help your pass rush. And on top of that, we got a pass rush where it's 3 guys coming. We don't have 4 guys coming, but when you see the 4 guys coming, you know where it's coming from. It's like, I don't know if this 3-3-5 is our calling card, because what I'm seeing is we're lining up and we're always overloaded on one side, and then the quarterback scrambles the opposite side because he sees that. And I just don't know if our base defense and what we're doing is creative enough, first of all, because it always looks the same. I don't know if we're being exotic enough, because if you're in a 3-3 or a 3-4, you have to be exotic with your blitzes, which means you're sending people from different areas. And for us, I don't see us getting there with 4 men, and that's hurting us because we only have 3 men rushing. A quarterback always has a zone to find open.
Exactly. Yeah, we talk about put pressure. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, Randy, you were about the game last week. So early in the game, Cincinnati just kept hitting a little to the inside receiver because we were playing off, right? But we were playing off because we were trying to stop the run. So now we're trying to stop the run, but we're not stopping the pass. So if you're the master, you're trying to do 2 things at once, and you can't do that. You got to commit to it, and you got to do it. And they were playing off because we were trying to stop the run, but they didn't want to get beat deep, right? So they didn't play. And so to your point last week, I mean, there was a couple plays. It was good to see the defense create some turnovers. And it gave up. They gave up almost 500 yards.
500 yards.
Over 500 yards, right? And one of the turnovers, the quarterback on the 4th down just threw the ball up, and we returned it for an interception. I mean, it was just a dumb play. We created an opportunity for the quarterback to make that decision. I think Aaron is hitting the nail on the head. We're the defense, and that's coaching. Let's just be honest, it's coaching. But the defense, and it's been this way it's a pattern for the last 4 years. When teams make changes and in the second half, they do specific things that work. It's because they make and identify specific weaknesses in your defense, and they make the adjustment. And then now it's the defensive staff's turn to now make an adjustment based upon that adjustment. That was the one thing I will, Coach Dunlap, I will give him so much credit. His in-game decision making and what he would do during the game, and how we would come to the sidelines in halftime, we'd say, okay, they're doing this, or a first quarter. Oh, they see we're doing this now. We're going to do this now.
Adjust.
Halftime. This we're going to do. Calling me on the phone during the 3rd, 4th quarter. Hey, Mike, when you see this is what's going to happen. He was really adept at that. But the staff worked together, for a number of years, and so there was some cohesiveness there as well. So, and I don't see that currently with our defensive staff. That
answers Randy's question, Mike.
Yeah.
That statement that you just made answers the question. Okay. Why do we struggle in the 4th quarter defensively? Why is it that we've got a lead against Pitt and fall apart? The last 2 games that we've won, if there was another quarter of football or another 10 minutes of football played, we'd lose those games in the 4th quarter. And that speaks to what's getting done at halftime in terms of making the chess match adjustments. And then what's occurring at that end game that you're talking about? When you get down to the nitty gritty and it comes time to make plays, you can't sit back and wait for stuff to happen. You got to put people in positions to go after things and make plays. You got to make plays. You can't just chill out because they're coming and they're making their adjustments. They've made the adjustments. They've found the weaknesses and the holes and the places that we can attack, and this is where we're going to go. So if you don't make those readjustments in your defense, then you're just going to bleed out the artery. Correct? And that's where we're seeing. We're seeing that. Now, did we see it last week? Was the defense better last week than it has been throughout the year? What do you think?
I would say no. Only because they got the turnovers was cool. We got lucky with the turnovers, but we still gave up 500 yards.
Yeah, I would say, I would say no. We got gashed, if we're being honest, and we were lucky we were very fortunate to win the game. Now, Now, what were we better at? We were better at making negative plays. So yes. So if that's the metric, then yes, we were better. Because how many other games have we forced multiple turnovers?
None. We were less than
Literally,
10 before that game.
Somebody look that up now. What other game this season has West Virginia forced more than one turnover?
Yeah.
None.
That's a great.
None. This is the first time we've been on the big plus side of the turnover board.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's huge. That's huge.
That's what wins
turnovers
games.
win games, man. Turnovers lose games.
Right. And so if the metric is those negative plays, then yes, we were better. But to Aaron's point, we really weren't better on defense.
Who's been the most consistent group defensively?
They controlled the clock. I mean, you look at the amount of plays they had, their time of possession. If you just look at that and take away the turnovers, you're thinking, oh, West Virginia got blown out by 20 points.
Yeah.
But that is the value of a turnover, though, right? That's the value.
You know how many offensive plays we ran?
We ran like 30, right? 40?
I think it was like 43.
Yeah.
Counted offensive plays. That's not even a half.
Right.
So without those turnovers, we don't win the game.
Right.
But we did get the turnovers, and we did win the game.
Exactly.
So, I don't care if it's 50-0 or 31-28. A win's a win, and we got a couple of them now in a row. You guys know me. I'm always going to look at it through the eyes of a player, and the players are the ones that got to go out there and do the job. The players are the ones that got to be rallied, and they got to rally each other. And coaches are supposed to put us in the best situations that they can. All right. So can we do that for 3 games? Against, guys, look at where we are. We're at the top of the bottom of the Big 12.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We're at the top of the bottom of the Big 12. And the teams that we've got to finish up playing, TCU, Oklahoma State's last. They're 0 and whatever. Texas Tech, they just got thumped by Colorado. They're falling apart towards the end of the year. So we don't have a big win. We haven't beaten really anybody, and that's part of the issue too.
The definition of the Neil Brown era of West Virginia football. There's no big wins. There's nothing we can build upon. I honestly, if we're going to talk about the remaining schedule, I'm trying to be very positive, but Baylor is ascending. They've won 3 in a row. They figured it out on offense. Defense, Dave Aranda is back to calling their defense, and Spavital, who's their offense coordinator, used to be a coach of West Virginia with
Jake.
He's, I think this is his first year, and they're
he wants this bad.
And so if we have an offensive and defensive game that we had against Cincinnati, unless we create 3 turnovers, we're going to lose by at minimum 14 points.
Yeah.
Being honest.
I agree. And here's something else. So I was here in Morgantown at a bar, The Goat, the other day. I'm just listening to people talking around me, right?
To the Goat?
Yeah, right. Yeah, see, and all these people, like, to be a Mountaineer fan, a lot of these people are diehard fans, but to hear them talking, like, especially when they start to come back, they're okay with that because they think, well, if we lose, then there's going to afflict change, right? And never before have I sat around and listened where they're not cheering. They're like, well, that's okay because if we lose, it's still positive because we might end up getting a new coach. And I'm like, that's where we're at right now as a fan base.
Awful.
Like, that needs to be out there. Like, I'm not for putting the billboard signs up.
I'm one of them guys.
Right. Yeah. like the billboards, because his kids see that, and I know him, and like he's a really great guy and everything. But like you said, it's time for a change. We have not had a big win. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time we were ranked? Does anybody know?
And since Holgerson's last game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Right?
It's been 7 years.
We were ranked this year preseason, right?
Well,
Preseason,
it's the longest period in West Virginia football in 50-plus years.
Yes.
Frank Signetti had West Virginia, or in the interim between when he took the job from Bowden to when Coach Nealon, it wasn't a 6-year period of time. So, this is mediocre. It is the definition of mediocrity. It is. I mean, and it's I root for the success of the coach because then the program is successful. I'm rooting. I want him to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like this.
When
he was at Troy
last year, that's the best he's ever going to do at West Virginia. That's the best he's ever going to do. That he will never win more than that 8-4. He won't beat ranked teams. When you're 3-17 versus the top 25, and those 3 teams that you beat didn't finish in the top 25, that says a lot about you.
Yeah. Or they're all under 500. The teams that we did.
And here's the other thing that's like, you have to give the Dana Holgerson, you have to give a credit. Rich Rodriguez, who came in after Coach Nealon, credit, because Rich, he basically decimated the program, started from he knocked the foundation down, and then built it back up, right?
Yeah, we won 3 wins that first season, I think.
But then
he went this way.
Punched above your weight, above that, right? You punch above your weight. You're able to. He won games. I remember that Virginia Tech game with Quincy at running back when Virginia Tech came in at number 3 in the country, and we just manhandled them.
Yes.
Can you envision a Neil Brown team doing that?
No. I can answer that right away. No.
Because of what we talked earlier. You got to have the players, and you got to have the guys developing those players and having a practice where you're sharpening iron. Practices have got to be tough. They got to be hard-nosed, and they got to be that. And when you can see that going on, then you got something. And you got to surround. When he was at Troy, he was like putting A1 sauce on a hamburger. Now we're putting ketchup on a steak.
Yeah.
So you got to get around you. I mean, again, and I use a Deion Sanders, and a lot of folks, they cheat that. But you know what? Look what he's done with his staff. Look at who he's got there. Look at who he's got on the sideline. Look at what's happening there, man. There's a freaking frenzied buzz going on, but it's because those guys they're being challenged every day to be the best that they can be, both on the field and off, and that kind of thing. And we're here, and we're not getting any better. So you know what? Then I got to get rid of some of these guys, like he did with that D coordinator, his buddy. He cut him away and elevated Kuntz, who's got a much better resume, who's got the credentials to handle that position. And here's the range. You go do it. And now you got to get rid of 3 or 4 guys off that staff immediately after this season, and you got to recruit some big time guys to come into those roles, whoever it might be. I mean, hey, why not interview Pat White for the quarterback position?
I got an insider. I put my name up for the DB job.
There you go. Right. I mean, there's a coach right there sitting on this screen who knows the game, who coaches it, who has coached it, who's been. Come on now. I mean, we can't go out there and get that done because that right there, then that excites the fan base.
Right.
Right. I'll buy a ticket knowing that I'm going to see Aaron Beasley roaming the sideline with a coach's hat on.
Exactly.
Right. Or
Pat White, coach of quarterbacks.
Coach quarterbacks, as opposed to this. I don't even know this guy's name. Some guy named, I don't even know what he is. I looked at his resume. He was
Tyler Allen. Yeah.
He played D-line in high school.
Man. Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to be honest with you. Neil Brown needs to get his face out of the play call sheet and run his sideline and run his locker room and manage the whole game instead of worrying about calling football plays. You got a coordinator. Let the coordinator do his job. All right. You interject when you have to. All right. But you don't need, I mean, he's, you see him on, he's like this all the time. And it's like, man, you need to be interacting with your players. I mean, Coach Nealon, and again, that's who we have to relate to. But our coaches were right here in your eye.
Rodriguez, same way.
As soon as you got on the sideline, man, you had somebody in your eye or in your ear hole giving you feedback, whether it be positive or negative. But it was constantly, and that comes from leadership. That comes from the guy, the admiral of the boat, who knows everything at all times, doing everything. You can't be a great play caller if you're doing head coaching duties all week long, and in practice you get handed a sheet and you're working off it. No, you can't.
We have to change the slogan from trust to climb to no more excuses. That's the accountability.
I love that.
Randy, you're exactly. No, Randy, seriously. You
love that.
Right. Like, there has to be a certain measure of accountability. Like, what struck me was when Neil Brown said earlier this year, I didn't understand the dynamics in your football and the importance of the program. That struck me. It just told me that there's a guy who's like, he's out.
It took 5 years to figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
Shame. You knew that on your recruiting trip, Mike.
Hey, did the fans have fun? Did the fans have fun?
He is not. This job. He's not built for it. Let's just be honest. He's just not built for it. It's not in his spectrum of abilities, and it's being shown. It's been shown in 6 years. There's a pattern here of what he's capable of doing. So, there has to be some accountability. There's accountability a couple of years ago when the athletic director was let go. And me, Joes, and Aaron talked exhaustively about how this athletic director gave this guy this horrible contract, and there has to be some accountability. Now, the current athletic director and the folks running our athletic department, along with the folks that are running our university, have to take a really deep dive and really look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? Is this who we want West Virginia football to be? Do we want to continue this path of mediocrity? Or are we going to put ourselves back to where we expect to be? What are our expectations? I don't know, B, you tell me.
You want to hear my opinion on that?
Absolutely.
Well, my thing is, after so many years of like not growing and not building to where we could be, because to me, the Big 12 is not what we played in the Big East. We played some damn, you know what I'm saying? And I just don't see us having a brand of football. Like, what are we? Are we an offensive team? Are we a defensive team? Are we a hard-nosed blue collar? I don't see any brand of football that we can label ourselves. Like Mike was saying earlier, like, our offense wasn't good, but boy, we was gonna hit you in the mouth on defense, and you gonna have it was gonna be 17 points or less. That was our goal. I don't even know what kind of goals they had, because it looks to me like they just are just trying to win when we wanted to dominate.
Right.
Like, to me, the difference is wanting to dominate versus just hoping to win.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's all I see right now.
Yeah. Playing West Virginia football before was tougher than a long weekend with your in-laws, right? That's what they used to say. Yeah, you're going to go in scrapping, right? But we've lost that. And even Pat McAfee had mentioned that, all the hype that they had for the Penn State game and everything, and hoping that we would get that big signature win. Do you remember they used to say, shock the nation, right? West Virginia's going to shock the nation. Even when we played Oklahoma, and everybody's like, oh, we're just going to get killed. I actually went down the Orange Bowl the one year when we played Clemson. I had people tell me, why are you going down there to waste your time, right? I think West Virginia just scored another touchdown. That's what happened. Everybody said that because it was like one after another, after another, after another, right? And I don't feel like that anymore. I remember the days whenever you guys played, and even Win Rodriguez, like in the 2000s, I expected to win. Like even when we were down against Pitt, like I was waiting for us to make that big comeback and win, just because that's what the expectation was, and that's gone. That's what's sad. That's
your opponent,
Joe's. Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw. Your opponent's going to wake up tomorrow feeling like he was in 3 car accidents. That's number one. That's got to be number one. Is that kind of a battle? That kind of a fight? That's my opinion. I mean,
Bees has been saying this for 3 years. What are we, West Virginia football? What are we good at? He just alluded to it just now too. But and you know what? He's right. Like if there's one thing about this team this year, what are they good at?
Yeah. Is it running the ball? Is it throwing the ball? Is it stopping the run? Is it stopping the pass? What are we good at in the fundamentals of football?
What are we good offensively? What are we going to hang our what do we hang our hat on offensively? What do we hang our hat on defensively? What are we good at?
Hey, the thing is, when we were up in South Carolina, we saw that first drive. Oh, we're running the ball. Next time we come out, the whole game plan changed and we lost. Like we just ran the ball down their throat, took 6 minutes off the clock, and now we come out with a whole different game plan.
Yeah, that drives me nuts. Well, and I'll ask you this other real question.
Wait a minute, hold on. Before you ask these questions, I gotta say one more thing. And this goes all the way back to that Penn State game.
Yeah.
I was at that practice on Tuesday before the biggest game on the biggest stage in this whole career. This is the opportunity to get a marquee win. And if not a marquee win, at least a hell of a damn battle against the top 5 opponent at your house. And at practice on Tuesday is when I witnessed these guys out there in short pants and more like a pat and go on a Thursday. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Why are we not beating the crap out of each other, getting ready to beat the crap out of our opponent? You can't, like B said, if you ain't working full blast in practice, then it doesn't have to be every daggone. But when you're in the drill, when you're in inside, or when you're in team pass, or when you're in blitz period, during that 12-play cycle, it's game time. And it better be game time, because when you get to the game, the real game, and you got the juice flowing, and you got the attitude and the atmosphere, everybody having fun. Yay! Everybody having fun.
Right.
What's winning? What fun's winning? We didn't go through all that tailgate setup and all that cooking and all that fun to get in here and watch our team get their ass kicked or fight like a bunch of weenies. We want to see grit. We want to see that, man. That's our identity. And like you guys said, every now and then you'll see a spark of it. But that ain't way. Yeah. It's got to be 4 quarters, start to finish. And in the last 3 minutes of the game, that's when you're going to get my best.
Right.
You're going to get my best. I'm going to play my best football at the end of this game. Win, lose, or draw, that's coming. If we're beating you by 5 touchdowns, I want to beat you by 6. So let's go,
Well, that's actually going to be my question. I think this has been Neil's biggest fall throughout his time here. Like he's a really nice guy, so he's loyal to people. Right, he's very. I don't know if you guys remember Daggy back in the day when Daggy was struggling. Green would come in and give a little bit of a spark, but then that's it. Then he was done. So he stuck with Daggy the whole time, win, lose, or draw, right? And then now he's moved on to Garrett Green, and even when Garrett's having an off day, he's just winging the ball up there, overthrowing these 20-yard passes and that kind of stuff. That's why everybody's chanting to put in Nico. And of course, Nico is going to have times where he struggles. But we talked about this before. If you were struggling that bad, what would the Coach Nealon would have done? Would he have set your butt down? Because we always say, butt meet bench, that fixes it, right?
Right.
That then you have to work. Like Joe's told a story about him having to work to get back in it the one time, right? So what are your thoughts around that?
That's a great statement. I mean, that's a great thing to say right there, because you're now in a critical decision-making situation, because, Garrett Green is now getting healthy and able to do some things, but you got Nico now who's gotten us to a 2-0 run, and doing things that Garrett Green doesn't do. Garrett Green panics a little bit when he's back there. And when, you can't, that 2 second, your ball's gone 3 seconds, and all of a sudden you're holding it on and it's 4 and 5 seconds. Now we got issues going on, and Nico, you see him step up a little bit and fire a ball. He's got a rifle, man.
He's not just firing the ball downfield either. Like 45 yards down the field, putting it on the money. That's the biggest difference.
You're talking about Neil Brown being loyal and true to his. Okay, so what do you do now?
Yeah.
Because if you take Green and you just put him back into that situation out of loyalty, you're gonna cause a major. You think you got people hanging billboards now?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
But is the question, is it loyalty or is it money? Because someone makes a little more money than the other quarterback, so he deserves to play because he's making money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be contrary on this. I don't think you lose your job because you're injured. And now you.
No, wait a minute.
Hold on. No.
But obviously, Mike, somebody can play better than the other now.
Ask me a question, allow me.
Let him
So the one thing that I don't think you lose your job because you're injured. And if he was the starting quarterback, then he should go. He deserves to be the starting quarterback. Though that's the decision that you make as a head coach, and you live by that decision. Now, when he plays poorly, then you bring the next guy in, and he loses his job because he outplayed him. But you don't take him out.
Okay.
So Mike, we just won.
I'm not done.
We just won 2 games in a row. Are you going to replace?
You
cannot take him out.
Because the starting quarterback could not play. He was the starting quarterback. And so now the starting quarterback is healthy enough. He goes back and he plays. Now, when the starting quarterback doesn't play to the level that's commensurate, now you bring in the backup. That's what I think. And now that decision could be made in the first series. That decision could be made in the second series. That decision could be made at halftime. But you give him an opportunity. Now, because you got to go
with the hot hand. I disagree. You got to go with the hot hand.
Hey, Aaron,
come on.
That's fine, and that's okay, and that's but that's my opinion, because let's say Brown is back here next year, and how do you recruit a quarterback when you say, okay, if you get hurt, the next guy gets your job?
Well, it's not that he just got hurt. He got hurt, and the other guy played better.
Okay,
there's a difference.
Maybe he comes back and he plays better. Now he's settled down. He's able to see the field better. He's able to understand the mechanisms of the game. Honestly, though, guys, let's be completely honest here. Part of the reason why Garrett Green has played so poorly, part of the reason why our offense didn't get the points that they get the yards and sustain drives like they should have. It's been play calling, exactly. So regardless of
me and Mike work together,
regardless of who's in there, there's still going to be offensive struggles, right? Mm-hmm. And so now, because look what we're doing on offense. I mean, they're loading up. This is what Baylor's going to do. They're going to load up. They're going to stop the run. They're going to force
you throw it.
Then because we can't protect, we're going to match protect, and we're going to do a 2 or 3 man route, and that doesn't help your quarterback. I don't care who it is. So either he throws the ball deep, or we got to try to find the seam, or we throw a horizontal pass on the line of scrimmage. That's only our 3 passing plays. Literally, those are our 3 passing plays. Right. And now to your point though, Randy. Nico throws a phenomenal deep ball. Phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So he gives us the ability to stretch the field. That's something that Garrett hasn't done. Now, maybe he gets in and Garrett is able to that deep ball. Because here's the other aspect of the offense before Garrett got hurt. Oh, nothing's there. He runs for 30 yards, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
that was literally the offense. So that's my take. I mean, I'd say Garrett gets his job back. If he plays poorly, now Nico's job for the rest of the season. That's what I say.
I agree that the injury part, but when the other quarterback's hot, you can't take him out. That's my only thing. Like the
I got
other
you.
quarterback,
That's fair.
I'm not saying he's super hot, but the offense looks a lot better.
We won
Our offense looks a lot better when he's throwing the ball. That's all
That's fair. That's fair.
But that's got to occur. I mean, the decision, and I agree with you, Mike. But I also have to say, what does it look like in practice? I mean, is this guy hitting it in practice? Is he showing us in practice that he deserves to be the starter? You know, because injuries. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, that's how I got my job. 1982, redshirt freshman. Halfway through the season at Rutgers, Kurt Keel sprains his ankle and Jozwiak goes in, and that became my job. When his ankle got healthy, he couldn't take my job. They moved him to the right side. So again, I think you got to earn that. You got to earn that back. You got to show in practice that you're better than the backup that went in. And not a lot of times, but many times the backup goes in and the backup gets that little piece and says, "This is mine."
Yeah, get this back.
And you want it back. I don't care if you're an All-American. You want the job, then you got to take it. And where do you take it? You take it in practice. But you got to be able to prove that in practice. And if your practices are, cakewalks and you're not challenging that athlete, how can you make that determination during the week? So then you got to put him out there and see if he's any good. And like you said, Bees, then you drop the hot hand. If this running back's getting tackled for a loss and fumbling the ball, he's out. Next guy goes in, and that guy might be the guy that rushes for 4 touchdowns. You don't know that until you make that decision, and that ain't got nothing to do with loyalty. That's got to do with putting the best SOB out there to get the job done.
Right.
Eyes don't lie.
So here, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate just for fun here with Aaron Beasley. A quarterback in 2005 named Adam Bednarik was one of the toughest quarterbacks I've ever seen. Right, that guy got hit, but also that year I saw in the blue gold game this scrawny little skinny guy from Louisiana that was fast as could be come in against Louisville, come from behind, win the game. Could you imagine if Rich Rod a week or two after that said, "Adam Bednarik's my guy. He got us to this point after the heroics of what happened with Pat White." And again, I'm just doing this for fun, for conversation. Right. But
you're right. You're right.
You see my point, Mike? That's my point.
So, I'm sorry, just helping air it out,
Hey, here's my thing.
Joe's and I should back up though. And Joe's made the outstanding point. I mean, you see that in practice, right? The evaluation in practice, and I'm making the assumption, okay, this guy's in practice and he's doing the things that he's capable of doing, and then in turn now it's getting back out there. Now, Nico ain't no dynamic Pat White. Even though he's
exactly
but he swings the ball.
There's a difference there. I mean, when you catch that lightning in the bottle, yes, absolutely, you go with it. But I don't necessarily see the difference between the two, and it's not that great of a difference between the two players. And so that's why I say you give him the opportunity to get his job back. And if he doesn't, it's a short hook though. I mean, come on, there's got to be a short hook. Hey,
Yeah.
If you give you a chance, if I don't see it, boom, you're out.
Well, I just think Nico opens our offense up a little more compared to Garrett. Because what you said earlier, Garrett's going to scramble. He got one look. If it ain't there, he's running.
Right. That's exactly right, Aaron.
At least 2 targets before he does that, and he will run. He's not as fast as Garrett, but he will run and do the same thing. I'd rather have the dual threat. I don't think Garrett's a dual threat.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what I was going to say. If you'll watch Garrett, if the pocket starts collapsing, he's immediately look and run, right? But if you watch Nico, he'll step up, but his eyes are always still downfield. And not only are they downfield, and if he sees a guy, he's not going to overthrow the 20-yard pass. He'll throw it 45 yards and hit the guy in the hands, in stride. I think that was the biggest difference. And again, it depends on what style you're looking for. Garrett can take off and he can get 20 yards, right? But then that puts that quarterback at risk of getting hurt more and more.
Well,
go ahead.
It comes down to play call.
Randy, here, let me ask you all this, though. Doesn't it now it makes sense more than, okay, you see what Nico can do passing the ball. Let's have a run quarterback package where a quarterback is truly a part of the running game. But he also, he can throw the ball too. So a lot of the same things that Kansas does on offense, where that triple option with their quarterback, and the quarterback is a true running threat. That would be something that possibly we could do well now. And
have him in the slot
package, and then Nico, like maybe let's be creative, because he needs to be creative. Like, then when I say Neil Brown needs to be creative to, let's do some things. Let's go outside of our box, our comfort zone, and let's.
How about last week? All right, you're talking about that. We're talking about play call. We're talking about being dynamic. You got nothing to lose. Everything to gain. You got nothing to lose. Okay, so be that guy. That backside screen that they threw last week that picked up about 30 yards. When Nico rolls out to his left, he's a left-handed quarterback. He rolls out to his left, and then all of a sudden he comes back across his body and throws that freaking strike, bang, and hits that screen. And we run it once or maybe twice and haven't seen that. But look what it did. You got to put tools in the toolbox, and you got to go to them. You can't be running, some of the play call that we've seen in down and distance situations is like, it's 3rd and 8 and we're running a freaking read option zone play with Nico. Nico's not a zone option quarterback. Why is that play even getting called, man? Line up in freaking iPro or single back and freaking give him the ball and let him run it. I mean, that's just, again, I'm with you guys. It comes down to the play call.
I haven't seen the offensive genius that we purportedly signed as our coach. There's no offensive genius.
There's no wow factor.
Nothing. It's like we're 3rd and 8 and we're running a lead up the middle. Like, come on, man.
So, hey, here, I got a question for you. All right, you ready? And I mean, we've been all over the place. But you got 3 games left. All right. And I just talked to a fella yesterday that's moving out of West Virginia. He's going south, and he's taking, he donates. He's still going to be a WVU supporter, but he's not going to be that big guy anymore. He's going to, he's tired of it, so to speak. And let's face it, fellas, Neil Brown will be the head football coach unless he absolutely, does something really, really, really stupid. He's going to be our head football coach next year. Can the Mountaineer fans, can we be satisfied with 7 or 8 wins with maybe a big win during the year and get into a bowl game? Or realistically, are we really a top 12 team getting into the playoffs? Can we be that? Are we going to be satisfied? I don't know, man. I mean, after last year, everybody
said it earlier. The athletic director, the university, the folks in the athletic department are going to have to look themselves in the mirror. They're going to have to determine, are we okay with mediocrity? And if they are okay, then we're going to continue to be on this path. That's exactly, Joe's, you're saying it. And we've lowered our expectations so much now, right? Now the expectation, oh yeah, it'd be great if we win 7 games.
Yeah, but that's just it, though. That's just it.
That's not who we are. That's not who we are.
The fans, so much, have not lowered their expectations.
That's not the tradition of the tradition of West Virginia football over the last 40 years. That's not who we are. We should have an expectation of every 2 to 3 seasons of competing for the Big 12 championship. And if we're competing for the Big 12 championship, then we're a top 25 team. And if we're competing for the Big 12 championship every 2 to 3 years, then we're competing for a spot in the playoffs. That should be the expectation. Now, there's going to be a year here or there where, things go sideways. That's okay. But then the next year, but we should be, our expectation should be top 30. I mean, that's who we are. We are a top 30 program.
That's your expectation.
That's what the expectation should be.
Right. But our expectations as former players,
getting the playoffs once in your 6 years.
Our fans expect. Our fans they expect. They're pumping in a lot of money into this thing, man. We're paying these guys big money. We expect. We demand it. Now, if that's not coming from in here, like you said, the athletic department, the people, the board, the people that are running the ship, where are we satisfied with this? Are we okay with this? Because everything out here isn't. So we got to match. We got to figure it out, because I guarantee you this. I'm not happy with it. Those guys go to work every day in a $58 million facility. They have no idea, some of them, how good they got it. There's NIL money now on the table. They get taken care of like no best medical care, the best traveling, the whole schmear, man. So you know what? I expect to see that guy get better each year. And like you said, Mike, now if I'm doing that, in 3 years' time, we ought to be in that upper echelon, and people ought to be looking at us. You shouldn't be crying about the preseason. It ought to be automatic that you're in that top 25 preseason. You shouldn't be whining like Neil did at the beginning of the year when they weren't in the top 25. He's like, "Why aren't we there? We should be there. Our quarterback should be on the Heisman list." Blah blah blah. What? And we whined and moaned and groaned, and then we got our asses handed to us. By 2 top, tier teams in the first 3 weeks. And you know what? All that mouth gets you in trouble. He needs a better assistant that'll get right next to him and keep him from saying dumb stuff. Like 5 years into the program. Well, I finally figured out how important it is to everybody. Holy crap. I knew that on my recruiting visit. And it's like, come on, man. Get your foot out of your mouth and quit making, dumb decisions.
But what about,
and surround yourself?
We got our ass.
You got to clean house. You got to get rid of some.
We got our ass kicked. But got to bring in. Did you have fun?
Did you have?
I can't even say nothing about the dude no more. He's just ruthless now. He don't even.
I want to have fun. I'm gonna go to a concert. Right? I'm gonna go to a concert. I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to go to Disney World. All right. I'm going to a football game.
That's when
my team win.
That's when the accountability starts happening, is when people start doing that. And there's less people who show up to the games. They're like, you know what? Instead of going to West Virginia game, I'm going to go golfing at Glade Springs. Or I'm going to go down to the Dream Park. Or I'm going to go to the movies. Or I'm going to do something else. I'm going to keep my ass at home because I don't want to watch this crap. And Neil Brown, I'm trying to be delicate, but the gloves are off. The dude came from Kentucky. So he has a Kentucky mentality. He thought he was coming to Kentucky. He thought he was coming to a basketball school and not a football school, or a football first school. So now he's like, oh, I didn't know it was this important, because it isn't that important at Kentucky. They didn't wait till the season get over so then they can get the basketball season, And so he doesn't. So now he's figuring, oh, shoot. these dudes, like, I'm supposed to win games. There's some, and he's a nice guy. I don't really, I'm getting thrown from that too. Because every time something goes well for him, he's the first one to start talking trash, right? He never tells himself or his players, or he's always throwing it on the player. So I don't know if he's really that great of a guy, if we just being honest too. Like, for real. And also, if we really being honest, how he recruits the legacy players and how he doesn't go after those guys. And so if we being honest, I don't really know if he's that good of a guy. We know the ceiling is 8 wins. We're going to be lucky to get to 6-6 this year. And I mean that sincerely.
Yeah.
Saturday is going to be a very, very tough game. They're going to be physical. The next week, we might have the hangover. UCF, we can't guard the pass. Now, their quarterback is deficient, so that will give us a chance. And Texas Tech, he's never done well on the road at Texas Tech. We get blown out every time we go there. So we're going to be lucky to be 6-6. And again, what are we here for? What are we here for? Like, you got to start looking in the mirror. What are we here for? And it needs to start. There has to be not only, he fired the defense coordinator, which I think he got in front of that. But somebody needs to be telling him. Somebody needs to be telling him, dude, hey, you're making a lot of money here. And I don't know. I don't know if this is working. Like, you need to, we got to do something better. We got to do something different. I'm just frustrated. I'm just so frustrated. I'm just.
Well, that's where you're going.
I'll cut this together and send it to Red Baker.
You should. You should. You do. I'll post it to WVU Football. It's like,
because the thing is, Randy, one thing about this, it ain't just us 3 saying this
at all. I know.
You got. I ain't gonna say no names, but you got some of the top names in Mountaineer history saying the same exact things.
And that's exactly it. I want them to hear this, right? Because, as a fan, I know him.
Mike, you got
but it's right. But here's the thing: as a fan, and you see the mediocrity and everything, we're not getting better. Everybody made the excuses before, whereas Holgerson didn't leave him anything. We got to get his guys in here. And then, but you look at Kansas State and all these programs that replaced and then had success. You guys talked about Signetti. Look at Kurt at Indiana. Hello? And he is undefeated, right, in the Big Ten, which is not easy.
He's in the playoffs, and he wanted the West Virginia job.
Yeah, exactly.
He wanted the West Virginia job.
He played football at West Virginia. He was quarterback here.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was there when I was here.
We have so many great, just within the 30 miles, you think of some Nick Saban, some Jimbo Fisher, some of the great football coaches that are out there. Not that we'd ever get Nick or anything like that, but his connections and ties back to West Virginia and some of the people that studied under him, he would help to push them in our direction. You look at Kurt Signetti and what he's been able to do. Why aren't we beating their door down again? To your all's point, why are we accepting? It's not Mountaineer mediocrity. That's not what we're built on. This hall of traditions that I have here behind me. See these trophies right here? This is what Mountaineer football is. And until we get back to there, then absolutely we should stop going to the tailgates and having fun. And then that sends the message, right? That sends the message loud and clear.
And you don't boo the players. You boo the coaches. You let the coaches. It's astounding to me the amount of money that's transferred in hands for what we are getting in return. For what we are getting in return. It's amazing. It's literally amazing. And Shane Lyons, he had to get ghosted because he just put us in such a predicament. Like, the dude was 11-11 and he signs into this just outrageous extension. It was just ridiculous. And then but think about it. He was 11-11 then. He's only 2 games above 500 since then, with no wins, no great wins. It's like if there's a picture of mediocrity in the dictionary, it's Neil Brown. I mean, the dude is he's just not cut for it, man. He's just not. It just ain't it.
Hey, guess what? In the hospital, when you go flatline, they pull the plug.
Right.
And we've been here. We don't even have a heartbeat. We just go pull the plug.
Joe's, it'd be different if it was just 2 years, but we're now in years.
No, we're in 6. It's 6
we're in
years.
Year 6, man.
Like you said, 3 years in, we should have been. And
what other program has done that? Like 6 years of this kind of lack of winning or lack of development.
I mentioned Jimbo Fisher earlier. The guy wins the national title, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's in one of the toughest conference in the nation, doing good. He's winning 9-10 games, and then they're like, "Nope, you're not good enough." Right? That's the difference right there.
The toughest conference.
In the toughest conference, and it's
we got rid of Bill Stewart.
I'll pay you $70 million to leave, right? And now we're like, oh my God, we can't do $15 million.
Andy, we got rid of Bill Stewart because he went 8-3, 9-3, 4 3 years in a row.
Yes, you're right.
We got rid of him. We've already done it. But because we had expectations. And that's why it's befuddling to me. I don't get it. I keep saying it. This is his ceiling. He will never win more than 8 games. And he won't, because he won't beat any of the good teams. He won't punch above his weight. You're talking about Dana in the Orange Bowl. He punched above his weight. But he won games, man. He beat top 15 teams at West Virginia when he was the coach for WVU. So so Neil Brown ain't doing that. And we know he is not going to do it. We know it. And we know that his best is going to be 8-4 because we have, in the Big 12, you got 16 teams. So you're gonna catch some teams on your schedule that you should be.
Some bums. Some bums. You're gonna catch some bums.
Well, again, where we are, we're at the top of the bottom of the Big 12.
Yeah.
We're right here. Right? And the only teams that we've beaten this year are the teams that are below us. We ain't beating anybody above us.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cincinnati, I guess you can. Well, they were even with us.
Man, Cincinnati.
We're gonna. Hey, like I said,
they're here.
This is prove it. This is prove it.
Right?
No,
it's every year.
Right? They remember you in November. What you do in November? They remember you. Okay. You got here's test number 2.
Just like the fourth quarter.
Let's see what happens.
They remember you by who you are in the fourth quarter. I don't care what happened in the first quarter because it doesn't matter. What happens is the last 15 minutes of that game, which is the last 4 games of a regular season. Where are you going to finish in that time frame on your way into the potentiality of a playoff berth? Okay, because you got to be in the top 12 now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Hey, fellas, it's fun, man. We talk all day.
I know. I gotta get back.
Hey, if it's you and you're sitting there in Neil's office and it's just you and him, what advice are you going to give him right now? What advice would you give Neil?
You first, you want me to go because I'm kind of angry.
We'll go with Aaron.
How about I'll go first. This is what I'm going to tell him. And it wouldn't just be me in his office. It'd be a collection of players from the previous 40 seasons that would be in his office. And I would say, Coach Brown, Neil, look at this here. These guys have done something you've never done here at West Virginia, and we're tired of it. And he's going to be like, what's that? We've all been ranked in the top 25 or the top 15 or the top 10 or the top 5.
And we've beaten teams that were there too.
Yes, and we beat those teams. But this is the standard, and you need to ascend to this standard. And I don't know what you need to do, but you need to make it to this standard. This is the accountability we're going to hold you to. And and if you can't get it done, maybe you should politely walk away. Get somebody else. You ain't built for this. And because if you get offended, you get on the huff and they get mad. You know why? because this ain't for you, as opposed to looking inside and say, yeah, I'm gonna reach to that standard. So, and hey, and then the other thing that we've been saying a lot today is
you only get one,
the
Mike.
Mountaineer way of football. You better instill a certain amount of toughness in your team that we're not seeing it. I don't see it. I don't see this toughness. I saw it with the Stills when the Stills brothers were there. But I think that might have been a carryover from the previous regime, to be honest with you. So there was a little bit of it then, but I don't see it. I don't see anybody really getting after it. Offensively, on the offensive line, I don't see anybody manhandling anybody. On defense, I don't see anybody going after anybody. I don't see us dominating the line of scrimmage. And that's where it begins. And if you can't do that, you need to find somebody who can. So that's what I would tell you.
You need to find somebody that can coach it.
That's what I mean.
And then you find those people that can play it within the demands of that coach.
Right.
Beast, what are you going to say to the man?
What I would say is bring us former guys in to talk to these dudes, talk about tradition. I think he keeps it at a certain level where he goes for these influencers that are on TV and the guys that are like IG, but the guys that really built this program from the 80s, we still are involved. We're still watching. We're still like a Tally and yourself. We love this program and we see what's missing. And if you would take some advice from some guys like Mike said that's been there, maybe you wouldn't have all this negativity coming from us, because I feel like you don't treat it as family. You don't treat it as, when I got there, all the older guys, they would come to me and talk to me and tell me about tradition, where you don't bring us in there. Because I went there and talked to your kids. You pulled the hook on me because I was bringing some real emotion and some real how I went through the West Virginia story. So my thing is get us more.
Pulled the hook.
Yeah, I went there 2 years ago. And I was speaking, I was up there for 2 weeks. I was working with all the DBs. I was there every day. The DBs were calling me, begging me. And I was just like, all right, come on, let's do it. I ain't going to golf today. and I went over there and he saw me there. All the coaches saw me there. And when I went for the one day, I was like, Coach, you mind if I speak to the team? First of all, why do I have to ask you when I'm here showing my presence and I'm asking you to talk? And it was like, okay, yeah, I'll let you talk. So I get up there talking, and 3 minutes as I'm talking, he's looking at his watch. Okay, Beasley, are you done yet? And the funny thing about that is Stills, he brought up Stills. Stills was crying in tears because he felt I was almost in tears, because he felt my emotion. And then another part of that story is one of the guys transferred, Jordan Jefferson, to LSU. Well, Jordan Jefferson, I met him at the rookie, we had a rookie dinner with the Jaguars. Jordan Jefferson comes up to me. He says, sir, I don't know if you remember me. He said, but you talked to me and Stills. And he said, you talked to our team before that? He said, man, I never felt that much. My heart was racing. And I'm like, imagine if we all have the opportunity to do that, where we're all sharing our stories about this, just that Mountaineer legendary stuff, because none of us come from them 5-star or 4 stars. We all come from that blue collar.
That lunch pail.
It's a whole different attitude. And you got these guys in here, spoiled brats, where they need to hear where I'm from. I made it to the league off of no stars, from grit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I was hoping what you were going to tell Neil was, here's my resume, because we need a good defensive coach back in there.
Hey, I got to share this because this speaks to what you just said, Bees. You 3 minutes into a heartfelt message, you get yanked.
He's looking at the clock.
I'm Tuesday that I was at practice before the Penn State game, he brought up the team in the middle of the field and introduced me. And I didn't get to say a word. One of the most passionate players in Mountaineer history right here, and I didn't even get to say hello. He introduced me, and he introduced Brad Hunt was with me. Here's these guys. And, you know, you got a guy from the 84 team standing in front of a group that's going to play against Penn State on a Tuesday right there in your practice, and I didn't get to say nothing.
Right.
So you know what? He don't get it. He don't get it.
I said it before. Everybody saying he's a nice guy. I don't think he's questionable about that. I don't know if he's that good of a person. I really don't. And,
I need to say this then. To that, you talk about a legacy player, Big John Ray. His son transferred out to Kentucky. And I remember in a conversation with John that he had with his son, Neil Brown didn't even really know him. Hardly ever talked to him. Didn't, you know, I mean, you got a guy on your football team that ends up transferring and now playing in an SEC school. And, you know, you got Anthony Beck's kids, a starting quarterback at Iowa State.
Amazing.
I mean, you know, and
you don't even recruit him.
But again, what I'm saying is, and this speaks to you, I'm not around him on a daily basis. I don't know what he's like, but I mean, does he hide in his office all day? How difficult is it for me as a player to go see him or go talk to him, or do I got to make a schedule? When I went and saw Coach Nealon, if I needed to see Coach Nealon, that secretary would interrupt him. He could be on the phone with the president of the United States, and Nealon would put him on hold to talk to his player. Am I right?
You are.
You bet your ass that's right. And if you're that kind of a disconnect, you don't even know who the guy is, and the kid goes, "Yeah, I'm out of here." And he's a legacy guy. I mean, come on now. Doesn't get it. Doesn't go back and coach at Troy and take teams like that, and do that, because that's not big time. Yeah. That's not big time. That's not, my advice is, hey, you need to look at the top programs right now that are out there, and you need to figure out what they've done and what they do on a daily basis to be where they are. And one of them is surrounding yourself with the best that you can possibly get. And West Virginia, has to have a good, strong group of former West Virginia guys that are coaches, and there's enough of them. I mean, there's a Jamal Adai out there coaching. There's a Kurt Signetti out there coaching. There's a Tony Gibson out there coaching. There's
Juan Sider.
An Aaron Beasley out there. There's a Pat. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we can fill in that, and pay them $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd do it for nothing. Just house me and give me some food money, and I'll go out there and do it for nothing. All right,
he got his NIL deal with sausage, right?
Well, and I get it. It is about the money. I'm being funny, but because it does cost money, and that's a big problem for us, because guys, West Virginia right now, we're on a shoestring budget. No matter how you want to cut it, I don't care how much money we pull from the conference at the end of the year, whether it be $30 or $40 million, man, we're $80 million in debt. Okay. Mm-hmm. This president, who we should have never brought back. Sorry. I love you, Guy. You're a nice guy. You got a cute bow tie, but you came back here and you bled us. You bled us. We've cut programs. We got, Milan screwed us and sold out. And, hey, thank God for Trilogy Innovations and Vision Homes and great, Little General back here. We still got some really cool, business interest in West Virginia and such. But, West Virginia is a brand. West Virginia is and we're not
brand. It's a national brand.
It's a national brand, and right now we're not representing it,
and we have
the way we should.
Yeah, and Joe's, you're right, man. So I think the theme is the former players. I think that's absolutely. I think there has to be some way that we can communicate and instill and share the tradition of West Virginia football, because obviously the guy who's in leading the program doesn't get it because he just now figured it out how important it is.
Right.
So there, but that's difficult to do when you're not engaged. Does that make sense?
And you said this a few years ago when we first started this Mountaineer Legends pregame, and it was, you got when you look at the staff that they got coaches, they got advisors, they got assistants, they got all kinds of people. Why not, as an athletic department, reach out to these guys that we're talking about, the Mountaineer Legends group or whatever you want to call it, and form an advisory type, board, if you will, or an advisory group that you get former players' feelings and objectives and expectations and even suggestions.
Right.
Hey, another voice, another. And the key is West Virginia is a different breed of cat. How many times have we talked about that? West Virginia's got West Virginia football. We ain't got the 5 different teams and pro teams. We're not like Florida down here. I mean, you can wear 5 or 6 different hats on the same day. All right. West Virginia is all about that right there. That WV insignia, that logo, that's our brand. That's our logo, man. That's all we got. Damn it. So, I mean, we get fired up about this. We do. We care. We care.
And that's the thing. I was just thinking, like, it almost sounds like we're being negative, but it's totally the opposite, because we just care so much about what's going on where we went to school. Like, I ain't hating. I'm just telling what I see. And what I see is not the brand of football that we played. No, it's a different time. It's a different time. We had a standard. I don't see any standard. I don't see any. What kind of team is West Virginia? Are they physical? I don't see us being physical. Are they finesse? I don't even see us being finesse. I don't know what we are as a football program.
Well, we got 3 games to figure it out. Yeah. And it better happen. Hey, Baylor. Hey,
that should have been established 6 years ago when you got here, buddy.
Right. Well, it's not too late to make a change. Like he can affect change today, and that change could be affected throughout the season, and then carried over through the off season, and then carry over through to the next season. But does he have it in him? I personally, I don't think he does. So, but we'll find out Saturday. We'll see what happens.
So all right. So let me ask you this then to finish this whole thing up. He figures it out. They get 3 wins. Let's go 2. We're 2-1 in the last 3 games. We get a bowl bid. We go bowling, and we get a bowl win. And after the season, by January 1, he revamps his coaching staff and makes some changes. Right, like you're saying, you got to show us that you're gonna, getting rid of your D coordinator should have been done a year ago. Okay, if anything, he should have been canned after the Pitt game this year.
Defensive backs coach too.
D-back coach.
Right. Okay. So we make those changes. Is that enough? Does that show you a little bit? Does that get you feeling a little bit better?
It shows me that changes have been made, but ultimately, what are the results? And then now we're going to measure the results the following season. And if it's the same old, then you know what? Hey, it's time to cut bait, right?
There you go.
So I mean, 7-5 regular season, win a bowl game again. The ceiling, 8 wins. He's never going to exceed that, right? So now it's literally next year. If he doesn't win at minimal, I'm saying 9-3. There has to be
a big win
or an 8-4 where we're ranked in the top 20. Because that can happen too, right? Then
you're beating somebody up here. You got that marquee win you desperately need.
So if that happens, then I can see us, okay, now you've met a metric. I I've been delicate. I was, for the bowl game in Charlotte, I talked to Tony and those guys, and I was just really, he asked me about the team. I was like, well, we're better. I didn't really get into strong opinions. I would just kid gloves because I didn't want to kill the vibe. But the gloves are off, dude. Come on.
Hey, we're 6 years in.
Yeah.
Gloves are off. That's right.
That's right. It's time. So, yeah, it would be good feelings. I want to see us do that. I'm rooting for them. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, hey, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Because at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and winning stuff.
I had fun this morning.
You had fun at your tailgate, Joe.
I love you guys, man. Hey, to talk
this
football,
has been awesome.
To talk other stuff too. I mean, we've never really been stats and standings, and there's a few stats that we'll pull out and talk about, but the majority of it is the nature of the game, what the game is, and what it means to us as Mountaineers and former Mountaineers, and I love you guys, man. I enjoy the chats and what we talk about, but more than anything, man, it's the passion. It's the love of the game, the greatest game. I got a thing hanging over on my wall. It's a picture of Sam Huff, and he wrote, when I got drafted my rookie season, I was at a function and I had him sign this thing for me, and it says, "Good luck in the greatest game
ever." That's how and I look at that every day, and it gives me chills, because that's what it is, man. It's such a great game. It's entertainment at its finest, but when you're out there on the field in that battle, man, there ain't no other place. Ain't no other place. That huddle, being with the Warrior brothers, and it doesn't matter what era. It's like we all come out of that same mentality, and the torch was passed to the next. Didn't matter who. Didn't matter. That's how it went down, man. And that's a special thing. That's a bond that we share. 40 plus years later, and we still have that love, that passion for Mountaineer football, and that's because of the way we were raised in it. And that expectation, that passing of the torch, we got to get that. We got to get that. And but who's passing it? Is mediocrity passing it to mediocrity? Right? Then that's it.
Let's not go there yet.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different podcast.
That's a whole other ball.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you guys back on again, because this has been really awesome for me again growing up. I mean, I was a freshman in '93, right? Whenever I was watching you, Mike.
Wow. That's
and then,
cool.
Of course, Aaron as well. Beasley was the beast, because we're back in the day, playing for the Big East, the Beast of the East, and old Beasley, right? So, so I have all these memories of you guys from back in the day when you were playing. So getting to just chat with you about this is just truly awesome for me, and we definitely would love to have you guys back on again real soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, we're gonna get it going again next week, because I'm gonna be up there for the UCF game.
Okay.
I'm coming up to watch.
What's that? The 23rd, right? That's the 23rd.
That's the 23rd. Yeah.
I think I'll be driving up there.
You coming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man!
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, old Herb Hand. Hand's the O-line coach down there at UCF.
Yeah.
He was at WVU with Rich. And hung out with Rich in the coaching circles there for quite a while. So I'm anxious to see him. And hey, hopefully we can get by Baylor, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
One at a time.
Hey,
Yeah, one at a time.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Much love.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, love you. Later.
Hey, Big Joe's here. When I'm in West Virginia doing my traveling and having some fun and visiting some folks, man, I stop at Little General for all my needs. Fuel, convenience. It's the quick stop that you need to take. And down here in St. Albans, look over here, man, they even got a Dunkin' Donut. So, hey, when you're out there, man, support them. They support their communities all around the state of West Virginia. Hey, thanks, little general. Outstanding job.